Hi guys, welcome back to In Case of Econ Struggles. Today I want to talk about tariffs because I know they've been in the news a lot. And specifically in this video, I don't want to give my personal opinion about tariffs. Some of you may think tariffs are a good thing, some of you may think they're a bad thing. But what I really want to do in this video is just give you a basic economic overview of how we as economists think about tariffs. So for this video, it's not going to matter if you've taken economics before or not. I'm going to explain sort of from the ground up a really simple economic model that'll help us better understand tariffs. I'll use intuitive examples throughout the video, and I think it'll just really help make some of the vocab that people have been using in the media make a lot more sense, and hopefully just give you a better understanding of what people are saying when they're making those arguments for or against tariffs. Okay, so timestamps are below if you'd like to jump around. Let's go ahead and get right into it. So what we're going to do in this video is we're just going to make a lot of simplifying assumptions in order to use a simple economic model. And so what we're just going to say is we're going to say that there's some good or some goods that are produced in both the United States and the rest of the world. And we're going to say that largely no country has really any market power over one particular good. So for example, if you think about clothes are produced everywhere. No one country really has the ability to set the price for particular clothing in terms of like a t-shirt. And so that's sort of the assumption we're going to make when we talk about this model. Now, in order to talk about this tariff model, I'm going to talk really briefly about a supply and demand model. If you've seen this before, you can go ahead and skip to the next section. The reason I'm talking about this is because, again, some of you may not have taken economics, and so this is just a really basic intuitive definition of how a supply and demand model works, which we're going to use when we talk about tariffs. So what we're going to say is maybe there's some good in the world. Maybe we're talking about the number of apples in the United States, and we'll just do these in millions just so I can write smaller numbers. And on this curve, we have price on the y-axis. So this is like the price per pound of apples. This is the quantity of apples sold or the quantity of apples made in the United States. And what we're going to say is we're going to have this red line here. This is a downward sloping demand curve. You can think about the demand curve as sort of how much people in the United States are willing to pay for an apple. So for example, at this price of 5, maybe we say that this many people in the United States are willing to buy an apple for $5. Their maximum willingness to pay is 5. They're going to walk in the grocery store. They're going to say, okay, if the price of apples is $5 or less, I'm going to buy those apples. But if the price of apples is like $6, then they're going to walk out. They're not going to buy any apples. And so let's suppose that at the price of $5, maybe we have it that there are 50 million pounds of apples sold in the United States. On the other hand, because people tend to buy less as the price goes up, if we go down to a price of, say, 50 cents, well, now more people are going to want to buy apples because the price is lower. More people are willing to pay 50 cents for those apples. And so maybe at 50 cents, maybe there's like 150 million pounds of apples that are being sold in the United States compared to 50 million pounds of apples when the price was as much as $5. Now, on the flip side, we have a supply curve. You can think about the supply curve as sort of how much it costs the apple farmers to make or produce that pound of apples. And so what we're going to say is that as they make more and more apples, it costs them more to make those additional apples. And so the economic word for that is marginal cost is increasing, but all it means here is the supply curve is upward sloped. So we can say at that same price of $5, well, if the price is $5, if apple farmers can sell their apples for $5 a pound, those apple farmers are willing to crank out some apples because it's going to be really profitable. It's going to be really great for them to sell those apples at $5. So maybe they're going to sell, 200 pounds of apples. The price is $5. On the other hand, if the price is back to 50 cents, well, now those apple farmers don't get as much money for their apples. And so they're willing to produce or sell less apples. And so when the price is 50 cents, they're going to say, maybe they're only going to sell 75 million pounds of apples. Okay, and so now we have a demand curve, which says how much people are willing to buy. We have a supply curve, which says how many apples people are willing to produce. And so I think it makes sense that what the market's going to do is it's going to keep adjusting the price until the amount of apples that people want to buy and the amount of apples that people want to sell is the same. And so that's what we call equilibrium in economics. It's just where the supply curve and the demand curve cross. And for now, we're not assuming international trade. This is just within the United States. And so maybe in this example, that price is $2, and at $2, there's 100 million pounds of apples that are both made by apple farmers and purchased by U.S. consumers in, say, grocery stores. So again, just a really basic supply and demand model. And now we're going to change the supply and demand model. We're going to allow exports and exports to other countries. And because we assumed that there was no market power in terms of making one particular good, we're going to say that everyone in the world basically pays the same price for, say, a t-shirt. Because if one country decides to charge more for their t-shirt, well, then everyone's just going to go somewhere else because they can buy t-shirts from another country for cheaper. And if another country sells a t-shirt for a little cheaper than everyone else, then of course everyone buys the t-shirt from that country, and everyone else wants to lower the price to sort of gain back those consumers. And so what we're going to say is that there's going to be some sort of world price amongst the world for this good. But of course, we still want to think about the United States because our goal is to think about tariff policy in the United States. So all we're going to say is this is now a quantity and a price of this item of clothes in the United States. Got a world price here. And so what we're going to say is, well, okay, at this world price, where the demand curve and the world price meet, well, this is how many people in the United States are willing to buy t-shirts at that price. And so this is going to be what we call quantity demanded in the United States. On the other hand, this price is pretty low. And so what's happening is US producers or suppliers in the United States are saying, well, at that price, I'm only willing to make, it only makes sense for me to make this amount of t-shirts right here at this QS or quantity supplied in the US. And so what you've got is okay, well, domestic producers want to produce this amount, but we consumers want to consume all the way over here to the right or an additional quantity or more quantity. And so what do? Well, we import the difference. And so this imports is basically just the difference between how many t-shirts or how many clothes US or domestic producers want to buy and how many t-shirts or clothes domestic suppliers are willing to produce at this world price. On the other hand, we could export. For example, liquid natural gas is something we export, and the reason we export it is because the world price is up here and it's relatively high, and demand in the United States or domestic demand is right here at this QDUS. But our suppliers at that price are willing to pump out a lot more natural gas than we domestically want to consume of natural gas. So what do we do with that extra supply? Well, we export it to the rest of the world. And so that difference between quantity demand and quantity supplied is positive, so we export it. So now that we have just a basic understanding of how this sort of works, let's again go back to tariffs. The goal of tariffs is to reduce your imports and sort of like protect domestic manufacturers. And so what you're trying to do is you're trying to raise the price of the good in your country. You're trying to increase the domestic price, the price that consumers pay within your country. And so what we want to ask as economists is we want to say, okay, well, if that's what we want to do, if that's what tariffs do, how is this going to impact price? How is this going to impact consumers? And how is this going to impact what we call total economic welfare? I've got some videos exactly on what consumer surplus and total economic welfare are. I'll put them up in the top right corner. Again, those are intuitive explanations. You don't really need a super formal economic background to understand those videos. So if it's something you're curious about, feel free to check those out and learn more about these topics. But the basic idea here, especially for consumer surplus, is that say that you wanted to walk into Starbucks, you don't know the price of coffee, you're willing to pay $10 for a coffee, but when you walk in, you say that the price is only $5. Well, in your head, you've probably already spent those $10, so the fact that you have to spend only $5, sort of like, oh, that's kind of nice, I get $5 additional back in my pocket to spend for something else. That's what we mean by consumer surplus. Same thing for producer surplus. If, say, the cost of me to make a Starbucks coffee is $2, but I can sell that Starbucks coffee for $5, well, I was willing to receive $2. The consumer gave me $5 because I was able to charge $5. So my producer surplus is $3. So if I add the consumer and the producer surplus, I get what we call total economic welfare, and that's going to include tariff revenue as well. Now, one thing I want to talk about before we get back into those graphs and start adding tariffs is what exactly it means when we talk about a trade deficit. And so an intuitive example, suppose I've got two people, Bill and Dan. Suppose they represent, I don't know, they're supposed to be different countries, but they're different people. Suppose Bill sort of sends or exports 20 apples to Dan, and Dan exports or sends 10 apples to Bill. Bill doesn't export any cars to Dan, but Dan exports 2 cars to Bill. Well, from Bill's perspective, what he's doing is he's exporting 20 apples and he's importing 10 apples. And so his net exports, which is just exports minus imports, is 10. He's got a positive net exports, and so that's what we would call a trade surplus in apples for Bill. On the other hand, Bill imports 2 cars from Dan and does not export any cars to Dan. And so for Bill, his net exports of cars is -2. And so we would say that Bill is running a trade deficit with Dan on cars. So what you can do is you can add up these net exports for all these different goods. Think about the value of these net exports for all these different goods. If your overall value is positive, you're running a trade surplus. Bill would be running a trade surplus with Dan. But if that overall value of those net exports is negative, then Bill would be running a trade deficit with Dan. And so a trade deficit basically just means you're importing more than you're exporting. But when you calculate whether you're running a trade deficit or a trade surplus, you're just sort of doing an aggregate. You're not looking at individual goods. And so that's just one thing to be aware of when people talk about a trade deficit between two countries. You're thinking about every single possible good that's flowing between those two countries, and you're just weighting each good by basically how much it's worth. Now, with that being said, let's go back to these questions of how does a tariff impact things like price, consumer welfare, producer welfare, and total welfare. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to start with that initial graph with close. And so notice all I've done is said that this little highlighted green region is what we call consumer surplus. And just like that example I talked about with Starbucks, this just means that, well, if this is my world price, this line represents people's willingness to pay. This represents how much they were willing to pay for those clothes, but this price represents how much they actually had to pay for those clothes. And so the difference between what people were willing to pay and what people had to pay is just saying, well, that is sort of the welfare gain that these people got because they were willing to pay such a high price compared to what they actually paid. So this triangle area represents their consumer surplus. Along the same lines, for producers, this is what they received when they sold their clothes, and this is what they were willing to sell those clothes for. And so this area in here is basically the producer surplus, or the extra gain to producers for selling these clothes at this world price. And again, for clothes at this world price, supply was less than demand, and so we were importing clothes from the rest of the world. Now let's suppose that we decide to add a tariff to clothes in order to reduce imports, in order to reduce that trade deficit we have with other countries on clothing. And so what we're trying to do is in the United States, we want to take this world price that we have before, we want to add on this tariff to it to make it more expensive to bring or sell into the United States. And so a tariff price is just the world price plus the tariff. And so what we're going to do is we're going to move from this purple line up to this pink line. And now when we move from this purple line up to this pink line, notice that at this green dot, we've actually added a tariff such that we have no imports at all, such that our quantity demanded in the United States is exactly equal to the quantity that domestic manufacturers are willing to supply. So we have no more imports. And so if we think about consumer welfare and producer welfare as compared to before, well, similarly to that last example, the consumer surplus is right here, because again, this line is what they were willing to pay, and this line is what they had to pay. For producers, this is the price or the revenue they received. This is how much they were willing to sell the clothes for. And so these two areas, consumer surplus and producer surplus, make up the total surplus now with this tariff. But notice that we have this gray area here that was highlighted in the past. So this area right here used to be highlighted. And now this area is no longer highlighted, and I've highlighted in black to sort of reflect the fact that it's no longer part of these areas. And so what exactly is this triangle? What I'm saying is before the tariff, consumers were able to get this triangle right here. This was their consumer surplus at the old world price, and this was the old producer surplus. Well, now, basically, producers, which started from this area right here, they gained this area because the price was higher and they were able to sell more in this domestic market. And so they basically captured this little trapezoid guy right here. And consumers lost this triangle right here because now they're only buying this many t-shirts or clothing. And before they were able to buy this many t-shirts or clothing. And so what this is a loss in welfare due to the tariff. So again, I'm purposely not commenting on whether you think that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just saying that with this tariff, there is going to be some loss in total surplus, some loss in economic welfare from adding a tariff. And so maybe you say, okay, well, that's kind of an extreme example. We don't necessarily want to stop all imports. Maybe you just want a tariff to reduce the number of imports, not to zero, but to some smaller positive number. And so we can do that as well. Same sort of setup. What we're going to do now is we're going to say, well, we go from P world to P world plus tariff. And so again, here we're still going to import. Before the tariff, domestic demand was here at orange dot. With the tariff, we're going to move now to this guy right here, which is just quantity of domestic demand with the tariff, or with TAL. And so now our imports shrank from this line, or this distance right here, to this distance in blue. And now that we're still importing, because we're charging a tariff, we're going to collect some money from that tariff. The amount of money that we collect is just equal to the number of imports times the tariff, which is this distance right here. And all we're saying is just tax times quantity. This is the tax, this is the quantity, and so it's this rectangle right here. Now, in terms of loss to economic surplus or loss to economic welfare, we can do the same thing with the areas that we saw before, where what's happening is now consumers now purchase this amount of clothes, and so their consumer surplus is this guy right here. And so consumers have basically lost out on the fact that before they were able to buy this amount of clothing for this price here. And so the value of their loss is going to basically be this triangle right in here. So that's what they lost. Producers, they're going to gain a little bit. We're going to go from this triangle right here before the tariff to this triangle right here. So again, they're adding sort of this trapezoid shape right here. So it's better for domestic producers. The government is getting some extra money, so we'll count that as a plus. But again, this little part of the triangle here and this little part of the triangle here, those are lost to consumer surplus or consumer welfare that's not being recouped by the tariff, and it's not being gained by the producer. So it's what we call a deadweight loss, or a loss to economic welfare, a loss to total surplus due to a tariff. And so that's just the basic idea about how these tariffs work. Now, if you are an economics student, I'm going to talk about things like inelastic versus elastic demand. So if you're interested in those things, feel free to keep watching. But if you're just looking for some basic background on these tariffs and how they work and how an economist would think about these tariffs, this is all you need to know. You don't need any super fancy models. It doesn't have to be overly complicated. This is just a really basic way to use a supply and demand diagram with a world price in order to show or to think about what happens when you add tariffs on certain goods. And again, whether you think adding tariffs is a good thing, whether you think adding tariffs is a bad thing, at least now what you can do is you can have this knowledge of an economic model, be able to use that when you talk to people and think about or try to argue why you like tariffs or why you don't like tariffs. If you're just someone watching trying to learn a little bit more about trade deficits and tariffs, if this was helpful, please let me know in the comments below. Please feel free to like this video. I hope it was helpful. Finally, if we were to make it super elastic, if we were to make demand super elastic, here's an example in which when we added the tariff, we actually went from being an importer of such an item to an exporter, because demand was so elastic that when you raise that price, domestic demand drops so hard that we became an exporter of that good. That's something that's possible. If that were to happen, again, we're going to have that deadweight loss because consumers are losing this gigantic area in terms of their consumer surplus when we increased or when we added the tariff. Producers are adding a little bit. They're going to add this little trapezoid guy right here. But this part, again, is not going to be recouped by anyone. We're exporting, so we're not collecting tariff revenue. So that's still a deadweight loss. If you've got any questions, if you want to see a different version based on, say, an international class or an international macroeconomic class that you're currently working through, feel free to put that in the comment section below. Again, if this video or these videos in general helping you out, please like and subscribe. See you next time for another case of econ struggles.